my Area 51 line. You're on the air. Hello.
Welcome to the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, where what you've known as reality will be shattered by the truth. Krista and Brandy will lift the veil from your eyes, revealing what has either been hidden or denied you for eons.
There's my big face sticking up there. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. I had to think about what day it is again. Howdy. Yes.
Howdy.
Yes. Yeah, we were just talking about how Tex made a big mistake.
Big boo-boo. Big
boo-boo just a few minutes ago. Big boo-boo.
Starting to chase butterflies.
Right. So Tex decided he was going to take some ZzzQuil.
Yes.
And then he took a shot of something that he shouldn't have with our guest that's coming up.
Yep.
So we're going to have that deep talking Tex in just a little while.
I just hit.
Oh gosh. It ain't in there yet. We got about 20 minutes.
No, it hit while the intro was playing.
Oh Lord.
I mean, it went boom. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh no.
I'm chasing butterflies. Look at them. Did you see the size of that chicken?
Anyway, Krista's not feeling well. Krista's not feeling well. Yeah, Krista's not feeling well, so she couldn't be on the show tonight. I don't know. I don't think Tex is feeling well. He's feeling great. I'm just saying.
I'm feeling.
Oh, dear goodness. So let's just get into this and let's get started. I'm going to leave Tex over there too.
It is Keith's fault. We're all blaming it on Keith tonight. That's
it is Keith's fault. Yes.
Yes. I've already decided that I like Keith. Okay. I'm just saying. And I don't even care if he's a Yankee.
Oh Lord. I'm a Yankee. You like me sometimes. Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes. Jason Finch says he got it. Look at the size of that chicken. Oh Lord. Man, I cannot believe how quick that hit. I mean, it was like in the intro and it went, woo. I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm all right.
Awesome.
I'll behave. I promise.
All right. Behave for a little while. Just a little while.
So, we were talking to Keith backstage and we were kind of talking about the conference and everything. And man, every time I talk about this conference, I get excited.
Right.
Every time. And I'm like, I get all excited about this September conference that we're having. It's our first conference, and it was supposed to be this little bitty thing, right? We were supposed to have a little conference.
Itty bitty.
And it just went and mushroomed on us, snowballed on us, whatever you want to say. And man, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about it. And they were actually, it was on Selena's show. I was backstage, and I think I was backstage, and I was having a conversation with them about it, and which is a guest that we're going to have on, and for a great time and a restful sleep. The text protocol. Yeah, cowboy, you ain't right.
Yeah, we're not following the text protocol. And somebody else said text some coffee. No.
No. You know what? I'm worse on coffee than I ever am on alcohol.
Yeah.
No kidding. I get if I get more caffeine in me than I need to, I am tweaking like a meth head, and it is not fun because I start one. If you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you know I don't get in a hurry about saying anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even when I do karaoke, I have to pick songs that are slow because I can't talk fast. So Brandy's going, oh God, this is a train wreck. Chris is going to kill Tex. But anyway, what was I saying?
Oh my goodness. You were talking about coffee and too much caffeine.
Coffee. But anyway,
Yeah, no.
if I've got too much caffeine, I've even warned the guys at work. Because I've been drinking it because I'm not a day guy. I'm not. I'm a natural freaking night owl. I get it from my mother. I come from, I get it honestly. Swear to God. And, Amy girl, love you too, girl. And, so I've been drinking a cup of coffee when I'm getting ready in the morning, and then I'll have another one at work, and I'm like,
it's like having three conversations, different conversations with the same person.
it is.
It really is.
Honest to God, and most of them I'm having by myself. I mean,
you just sit there and listen for your own enjoyment. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because there's three people talking, but it's just me.
It's just
But yeah, honest to God, man, it's me on caffeine is a whole lot worse than me on alcohol. It just really is. It's scary because you all know that when I get tired, my voice gets deeper, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It goes the other way when I get on caffeine.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
And I start talking like this.
It gets all kind of happy, and you're like, wait,
yeah.
whoa, where's Tex? Where'd he go?
Pump the brakes, dude. Pump the brakes. But anyway, we've got a hell of a show for you tonight. We've got Keith from Michigan, and we're going to talk some Dogman. And this, of course, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm excited because I'm only one weekend away. When's Memorial Day? Because I can't go with y'all, unfortunately, because I can't get the added time off. Hey, I just started a new job. I'm in my third week. Okay.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I know. I'm going to have, I know.
This place that we're going to would have been your paranormal cryptid.
I wanted to go.
List.
You know, I wanted to go, and I was going to go. If I hadn't got a job, I would. And you know what? Let's go ahead and spill these beans because, folks, I was unemployed because you saw a lot of me. I was unemployed from December until 3 weeks ago. Okay. And
well, you got to kind of find that perfect fit. You know, I mean, it does take time.
Well, you know, so anyway, the plan was, and I was going to go because what else did I have on my schedule? Right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, then I got the new job. Right.
Yep.
And I do have Memorial Day off. because I'm still in training, and
Mm-hmm.
I do have Memorial Day off. But it's like if I was going to go, I'd have taken that Friday. I'd have left that that Friday morning, come up, and blah blah blah. Possibly Thursday night. Who the hell knows? You never know.
Right.
But now I can't.
I know. You always love turning those little trips into big ones. You do that.
You sound like my wife. This is not going to work. By the way, this is a new shirt she bought me. Check this out.
Oh, very nice.
It's like a almost like a terry cloth.
Very nice.
And it's button up. It's all nice and pretty. It's got stripes. They're thinny.
Well, we're glad to see you dressed up this evening.
Which I did. I said, but you know what? She also bought me a Bigfoot shirt.
How would I ever guess that? But anyway, let's get Keith up here.
Because if not, I'm going to talk the whole show. Let's get him up here. He's got to leave it. He's like, you know what? Look at him.
Like, he was like, God, he's still talking.
Yeah, he's like, y'all better hurry up. I'm fixing to get out of here.
Well, the thing is like, when Krista put out the call, of course, this is what we do. We put out the call that she was ill. She needed a co-host. Tex spoke up. I'm like, Dogman, Tex, hey, there you go. That's the co-host I need tonight.
Yeah.
This turned into.
Then I screwed up.
Yeah, and then this is turning into something else. So I'm like, bring Keith up.
I'm going to apologize because Chris is my wife's name. So God help me if I ever call her Krista, because I'll end up living with Corey up in Oklahoma, or Pops.
Right, true. Well, anyway, Keith, it's nice to have you here with us tonight. And
it's Keith's fault I'm in the shape that I'm in.
We've already talked about this. We blame Keith. It's fine. He accepts it. Look at him. He hasn't said a word.
You may speak now.
Why, thank you, Dumpling. I appreciate your fine hospitality.
This is why I love him. This is why I love him. You can catch me and Keith on the dance floor at Missouri.
Yes, that will be September 19th and 20th in Richmond, Missouri at the Eagleton Civic Center. Go to Eventbrite and you can find it under Crossing Realms Conference. You get all your tickets there plus vendor spots. Okay, I'm done.
So it's my fault. Let me guess, Tex. It's because I'm French, isn't it? Oh, let me wave my little surrender flag here. Screw you, I'm out of here.
You know what? You know what? I have a love-hate relationship with the French. One, I love y'all because
they're a-holes.
Well, but if we didn't have the French, we wouldn't have the Cajuns. Okay. I'm married into Cajuns.
Okay.
My mother-in-law speaks French. Okay. So that's the love part of it. The hate part of it.
Yeah, that's the hate part. She speaks French.
Yeah.
But
yes, that native and French blood in mine. Attitudes.
French rifles are the best, though.
Never
been fired and only dropped once.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a long night.
We only have an hour and a half.
This is gonna hurt in Missouri. I'm seeing this already.
Well, it's gonna hurt the morning after when we get together the night before. I'll guarantee you that.
Oh well, just remember, no eye contact. Things get awkward then.
I'm okay as long as we don't cross swords.
Don't worry, Tex. I got a shiv. You're all right.
Brandy's like, oh dear God.
Yeah, this is a Saturday night show. Sorry, folks. Hey,
okay,
by the
everybody,
way,
back at the boat. Back at the boat.
Cheers from Michigan. How you guys doing?
Back at the boat, everybody.
This is Keith.
Everybody jumped out.
Oh boy.
Oh Lord.
Okay. Let's talk about Dogman.
All right, now
we better.
yeah, it's just real quick because we got. If I can
Other
get
good
this
stuff.
all in with this show, I got Dogmen's Demons and Possessions. Oh my!
I
Yep.
love it.
Okay,
It's-
we're going to start with Dogman because I got to
Yep.
tell you that's going to take the conversation because once you get me and you hooked on starting on Dogman, it's Katie bar the door.
Yep. So I'm sure most of everybody in chat has saw the show we did with BMR a few months back. So I'm going to try and take off from there. What was it? Sacrifice House, live killings. Right. So now we're going to go from, everybody's got a hobby, I guess.
Yeah,
Anyway, it goes, we're going to go from, July of 04 up until, just like a month or two ago. That wasn't a Dogman a month or two ago. That was something weird, but we'll get into that. Okay. So
the Dogmen aren't weird at all.
yeah, no, not compared to some of that weird stuff I've seen out there. Holy shit.
Hey,
But anyway,
I'm with you.
okay, so July of 04, I separated from wife part one, and dating this girl that was out in Highland. It's everything that I talk about is all in this Highland area for the most part, except there's one in Kensington, which is Milford area, and something going on in White Lake with the Indian Springs. And I don't know, we'll get into that. Anyway, so July of 04, dating this girl, and I'd known her and her family since seventh grade. Okay, so that's what, 86, 87, something like that. And they had rented a cabin from the state park or whatever. It's just down from where all that creepy stuff was happening. It's like a quarter mile, if that. And I was driving there, and I had that Mustang, and you could see through the woods. I think it was close to a full moon night. I mean, it was pretty bright. And I was going down that road where all this cabin is, and then that little ranger station is. And I could see rustling in the brush and through the trees and stuff. And I don't think it was too late. I think it was well before 10 o'clock, probably between 9:30, 10 o'clock. And the Dogman, they actually, I saw one, and it got close to the embankment, to the edge of the road up on the embankment. Now, that one was, how to describe this?
Now,
I don't want to sound
pump the brakes here.
Yes, sir.
Pump the brakes.
Yes, sir.
Keith. You talk like, I saw this Dogman, but you talk like this is no big deal. This is old hat to you. So,
yeah, that's how I feel about it. I don't know what it is. I really attribute it to my the Native American side of my bloodline. And with them being, I think they're Potawatomi, I know that, which is in the area that I still live now. It's all their area. And Cherokee or Cherokee Nation. So I think that has something to do with pre or post Trail of Tears. I think he was Cherokee because my uncles, the short one was 6'5". I mean,
gotcha.
They're beast of guys. So, and then I was told somehow, some way we had part Apache too, but that's Southwest. Now I do have relatives in Nevada on the outskirts of Vegas. So I don't know how that one ties in too much, but as far as the Potawatomi, yeah, we're still here, Cherokee / Nation. So I think it has a lot to do with that history. I don't think these things showed up just out of nowhere. Not necessarily a governmental thing dropping them off or anything like that. I think there is some type of connection on a spiritual level of some sort.
So do you think these things are more than flesh and blood?
I think they're flesh, and they can be flesh and blood. They can be spiritual in between. I think in some cases, and the wife talked about this before when her and I were discussing this. It's almost how she said it was, they can be spiritual, but when they're in our realm, they have to adhere to, I guess, our guidelines, if that makes sense.
Well, that's not the first time I've heard the thing about rules, because Jackson McLean talks about rules of the spiritual, world, I guess you could call it. And it's so yeah, that's not a term that it's not foreign to us like French, but it's
I caught that.
But
I'm slow, but I'm not at a crawl.
You're not. But I'm not. I'm on the fence. But I really am. And I've seen these critters, and I've seen more than these critters. I haven't seen anything to make me make that leap over the fence. I am seriously on the fence as far as what they are and what they're capable of, because I'm still going from the aspect of, we're running into several different phenomena out there, and but I can't say you're wrong, and I can't say you're right. That's where I'm at. I don't discount any theories on this kind of stuff, because hell, they could all be right.
Right. And that's some of the experiences I've had where I'm kind of either way with it, because there's times when I saw that first one up close and personal when we were sledding back in, winter of 93, 94, when that thing would pounce, it made noise.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly made noise, but I've seen them too, where they kind of look like I would see them for a short bit of time. And this was part of this one in July. I would see them run, but they would kind of phase out, kind of like that predator thing that we all talk about. But when they were running around where I could see them a little bit, they were bulldozer through the woods is what they sounded like. But when they started running and picking up speed, and I understand you're still going to hear the trotting and them hitting the ground, the sound went away. So I don't know. I'm in the same boat with everybody else. Yeah. Everybody's got their opinions and whatever. But anyway, back onto this thing. Now it was up on an embankment, and it was running along my car. It was just a little bit ahead of me. The embankment is probably 5 feet higher than the road is. And it was in my view to where I could actually look at it. I'm doing about 25, 30, so I'm not going crazy fast down this dirt road. And this one was running on 2 feet. I've never seen it except for that time of one of these running on 2 feet. And I don't want to sound disrespectful when I say this, but what it reminded me of is when you have the people in the Paralympics that's had their legs amputated and they got those running blades. Yes.
Yeah.
That was like how it was running. And I'm looking at this thing, and it was ducking and weaving and knocking stuff out of the way. I mean, it wasn't knocking down trees or anything like that, but it kept up. And it went probably a good couple 100 yards, and then it just darted off into the woods. I couldn't see it anymore. And that's where I pulled up onto this cabin that the family had rented out, the girl I was seeing. And her youngest brother, she had two brothers. Her youngest brother, he's probably 14, 15 at the time. He says, "Oh yeah, we knew you were coming." And I said, "Why, your sister tell you?" He's like, "No, they showed up," and he pointed. And my heart kind of stopped for a little bit. And he's like, "Yeah, they've been coming around here all night. There's a bunch of them." And back then we didn't know what Dogman was or anything. So he was kind of alluding to werewolves. But again, it's one of, you say werewolf, like I said in Rob's thing, everybody's going to throw you in a cell or just laugh at you. So, and he was pointing these out, and sure enough, I mean, they had the cabin, there's lights on the cabin. There wasn't any out, lights on poles or anything like that. And these, I don't know how many of them there were, they all ranged for the most part between the 6 and 7 foot range. Some of them you could tell had a little more fur than the other ones. A lot of them, they seem to be that streamline, like I discussed with the short hair. Couldn't see color. I don't recall eye shine. There's some out there that have the black eyes, and it's basically you're not getting a glow from them. It's just like a very shiny black color. So if a light hits, it's just a little shiny or whatever. And you would see these things running around, and they're probably maybe 100 feet away from us. And they would come in closer, and it was odd how they were acting. You hear people that say, "Oh yeah, they're intimidating and they're doing this and bluff charges and all." And I'm not saying that didn't happen to them, but with me, they didn't even really pay attention to us. It was there running around. Once in a while, you'd catch them chasing each other. For the most part, they were on all fours. But once in a while, you'd catch them sneaking, and they had pine trees out there. Pine trees about a foot in diameter or so. The branches didn't really start until probably 6 or 7 feet easy, going up the tree. And them idiots, yeah, I'll call it, because they would try to sneak from tree to tree, kind of like that Scooby-Doo stuff where they're kind of creeping. It's like, dude, you're 7 feet tall, 400 plus pounds. I can see you. Just stop. Right. And they would just run around. They encircled the whole party that was there. They didn't attack or anything. They would sit once in a while and watch. Now, the one that kind of creeped me out a little bit, I had the two creepy encounters that kind of offset me a little bit. One was that one that I talked about in 93, 94 with the sledding where it come up behind me. The second incident that I had was actually with I'm guessing it was a child or a juvenile of some sort. It wasn't, but maybe 5 foot tall. And I started walking towards this thing, and she was, and how I say she, we'll get to that. I started walking towards her, and I got probably 10 feet away. That was it. And she did that creepy thing. She was behind a tree, but I could still see her shoulder. She was wider than the tree was. She did that weird, creepy thing where one hand comes out, another hand comes out, and all of a sudden she does one of these things. And again, I can see just a little bit of the shine from her black eyes. And I don't know if this was verbal or mind speak, but it was so clear. She said something on the line of "come here" or "come closer." I think it was "come here." Now, what tripped me out about that, it was the voice of a female child, maybe 8 to 9 years of age. I'm like, oh, hell no. I was like, all right, guys, I'm leaving. And I just left. I said, for some reason, I saw the big ones, saw them running, but that little one really spooked me a little bit. I think and that would be my first time running into what the people say is mind speak. So yeah, that was pretty trippy. A lot of, go ahead.
Well, I was going to, well, I got a couple of questions in chat.
Sure.
Little Patty, do you have a guess at how many there were? I mean, did you count?
If I had to say, maybe 10.
Wow.
Maybe, but it's the thing is where I'm hesitant on saying that is because they were running back and forth. Sometimes they would creep, and then they would, now it was mostly mowed where this area was at, and they had some trees in the yard, but it all backed up to that forest. So sometimes they would just dart off into the woods.
Right.
So who's to say that it wasn't just 3 or 4 of them? They dart off in the woods and then come in from different flanks. I don't know.
Right.
Excuse me.
Right.
But there are a handful. The majority of them are big. The little one spooked me. Yeah, 94, or I'm sorry, 04 was a trip for that.
Well, what did it sound like? I mean, when you were hearing this mind speaking, I mean, what did the voice sound like? Was it male? Was it female? Was it high pitched?
Female, 8 to 9 years of age, maybe 10 at tops, and very calm.
Oh.
It didn't have an accent, or anything like that. It wasn't a weird language or anything. It was just when she did that peekaboo around that tree and said that, oh, jeez, oh, Pete, man, it had an unsettling feeling. It really did at that point.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Well, I
we're
mean,
talking about
can you
Dogman,
imagine
folks.
just
We're
hearing
talking about
a little girl's voice in the dark anyway?
Yeah, in the
That
woods.
would creep you out, and then you're going to take, what you had just experienced, what you just seen, and put that on top of it. I'd have been terrified.
Yeah, I left at that point. I got in my car, and I think it was either later that night. I think it was the night after. That's where, when I was on Rob Show, I was talking about that black fog that I ran into, same road.
Mm-hmm.
And that was weird. That was anybody just to recall or whatever for people is I was going to turn down that same road. I think it was the night after, and there was a black fog in the road, a mist. It was about as tall as my car was. I drove an '87 Mustang, and of course we got embankments and everything. And normally you go to turn on to a road or something at night, and your headlights would hit the embankment. This was not the case. The fog was, or mist, I don't know, but it was, I could see it rolling. It was, twirling or whatever, but it was black, like that, the blackest color that absorbs the light. You see a paint with it. And my lights, yeah, and the headlights did not penetrate it. It just stopped. It just absorbed my headlights. Now, that was kind of unsettling. The crazy part is when that fog stopped coming up that road for a few seconds and then turned towards me and started coming at me. That was nuts. I've seen go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, you've experienced so much, why do you think, why you? I mean, you've had to have these thoughts. Why me?
I don't know.
Is there anything in your past that because if I was you, I'd be analyzing the crap out of this stuff. Why am I being targeted? I mean, or marked, or however you want to look at it.
Right.
I've never had
me.
I've never got that deep into it. I don't know why. I never have. Now, when I experience werewolf type stuff is when this all started. Actually, was when I was a kid, not seeing what we see out in the woods, but I was smart enough at 6 or 7 years of age to watch The Howling. All right, that's not a smart thing to do.
No.
The week following that was my first time camping, and we went up about midway in a state in Clear County. It was called a place called Mud Lake. Beautiful place, rustic campground. You had an outhouse and a well pump. That was it. And we all camped. My dad and mom and I, or whatever, were all camping. I said, "Oh, this is great." I'm young. Nighttime came. I got that movie running. I wasn't thinking about that movie until from across the lake I started hearing howling. You're a kid. What's gonna go through your head? And absolutely. I was right. And what it turned out to be was coyotes. But what ended up happening with that, and I'm a kid, I didn't know. But what ended up happening, throughout the night, they kept getting closer and closer and closer. I finally fell asleep, and I don't know what time it was, but what had happened, the coyotes came into the camping area where we were at, and we were the only ones in this area. And it's a small area. I think there's maybe a dozen camping spots there. And what had happened, the coyotes came in at night, and my dad didn't lock the cooler well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lo and behold, cooler and food all over the campground. But even throughout that time, as a kid, and I really didn't hit back into the woods until, I was in high school. I just stayed away from them. But there was always something in the back of my head saying they're real. Now, what that something was, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. but it was just one of those things. And I've been blessed enough for, God protected me or whatever the case is. But out of myself that's seen them, the wife has seen stuff. And even my buddies in high school, he went out with an attitude one time and caught a red one. Now a red is what we refer to as like an enforcer. I've never seen him. He saw him. He went out there. Hey, I'm a Scotsman. I carry a knife and a hatchet. I'll attack these things. I don't care. Just my little PSA. If you think you're brave with a knife, don't go fight a wood puppy. You'll lose. And it escorted him right back out of that park. So I don't know. I think it's with the native background, has something to do with it. In fact, when I see you guys, I have a long text message from my aunt, and you talk about, how can you talk about this so easily? I didn't mean it in a condescending tone. I'm sorry, text, but it's how can you talk about this in such a easy way? I sent a text message to my aunt back in, I don't know, I think it was April of last year, because we were going to go camping in this place called Highland Rec. It's about Highland Recreation Area. It's about 6,000 acres. And yeah, it's one of those places, it's 6,000 acres. You go 10, 15 feet off the trail. When my dad was a firefighter, they had to evac people out of there with helicopters and stuff because they've gotten lost. But anyway, I asked her, I said, what is out in Highland Rec? I said, every time, or there was a time I went out there with the dogs, the wife and I come right to a dead halt. I'm like, we need to turn around. And the dogs kind of was on board with that. And I made sure my thumb brake was off on my 45. So not saying it's stopping anything, but if I can slow it down, great. But I asked her, I said, what's out in Highland Rec? I'm going to be camping there in July. And her response, oh, werewolves, they're around there, but nobody believes me. They've watched us. And it was just like a conversation, like, hey, how's your day? And I'll show you guys. Yeah, I'll show you guys in Missouri. I mean, it's quite a lengthy text message, but she goes through it. And,
right.
For history stuff, I guess they have tunnels in that all throughout Highland Rec, because that used to be like a vacation area, I believe, for Edsel Ford. So he had the mansions and everything like that back in there, and the cabins and everything. And I guess in some cases they were connected underground. And yes, you can still find the entrances to them. I've never bothered to go that far into the woods, but I just, especially now with my health declining a bit, going around in that type of environment is a little difficult for me. So hopefully that answers your question.
Do you think that, or did you have like any other type of encounters growing up? I don't care if they're paranormal or anything else. You just had it started off with the one encounter?
Paranormal, yes. Ghost stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without being graphic. I think it's about 5 years old. It's like 1980. My aunt's husband and my uncle, he was a well digger. He'd dig wells for houses and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He decided to stay late one night to get a job done. The next morning, or he didn't come home that night, and the next morning they found him twisted up in the boom of this well thing, up and down. And I don't want to get into too graphic, but you understand he expired.
They found him passed away.
Yep. And I think it was within a few days of that, we were all at the family house on that side. And it was one of those things that people were standing around, and in the living room, you could see from the living room all the way down the hallway into the dining room, and nobody was there. The chairs started rocking back and forth quite aggressively.
Okay.
And people started running like, holy shit, whatever. And they just about ran me over. I mean, I think my father grabbed me running because everybody they were kind of in the hallway, but you could still see it. Now I think that was Uncle Timmy saying hi. So that was my first encounter paranormal. Now I've had a handful here and there, which just a little bit more Dogman type stuff I got to talk about. And then we
just to go back to that, because
yes,
Tex was like asking you the question of why do you think that happened to you, or do you think that something that maybe you possessed in your frequency or vibration or something brings that to you, and I've noticed that a lot of us that have that paranormal type beginnings or cryptid beginnings, if you want to take it that way, seem to have more experience as time goes on. It's kind of like we have that one experience and it just kind of opens up to everything. And that's why it made me very curious about what you were saying. But now that you're talking about that, which is very similar to what I remember as a child of happening in my own household. Yeah, I can see that. And I'm just wondering if there's like a connection there somewhere. If you do have some type of experience, does it or will it lead to more?
I think it does. And I believe that, be it either, I hate saying ghosts, but ghosts, and say these other cryptids. Now, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but as far as the wood puppies that I've seen out here, I think they can pick up on that. Excuse me. Now, this is kind of off the subject, but I think it could also be a learned behavior going throughout the generations of saying, okay, this group of people are okay. Now, why I say that is, again, it's kind of off subject, but when the wife and I moved here in 2019, I believe it was, there's this little raccoon, and she'd come up to the house and everything. I'd point, go, hold on a second. I'd make her a sandwich, hand it to her or whatever. And I called her Mama Coon because she ended up bringing her babies to visit and everything like that. Now, this is 2019. Yeah, we're a populated area. Them cars don't get along very well. But even right now, I bet you I could probably go out on the porch now and I have one of her relatives. And I caught it up on the porch a couple of weeks ago, and I just tapped on the door wall, and it turned and looked at me, and it was almost like a dog. It got excited. It kind of went, oh, like that. It turned around, it climbed down the railing, walked over to the door wall, and put its hands up on there. So I did this. I hold on a minute. I made her a sandwich. I opened the door. I didn't hand it to her, but she was probably 18 inches, 2 feet away from me. But so that's the thing, is what I'm saying is that I think when it comes to something like that, somehow, some way, they're taught, their young ones or whatever are taught, okay, this group of people are okay. This group of people are, stay away from them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's kind of like what the thing Tex said about how some of the Bigfoot or whatever, hey, your great grandfather shot mine in the ass, you're going to stay away from them or whatever. So I believe that there's something that's inherently passed down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I do.
Yeah,
and I do. Because some people say that firearms, like if you carry a firearm, you're never going to see anything. Well, I've learned that that's not true.
Yeah, I carry a 45 every place I go, and I've seen them.
Yeah,
right. And when we go up north, I carry a little larger. I mean, it's still a pistol, but chambered in 7.62, so a little more oomph to it. But it's one of those things. Again, I think they know what's in your soul.
Yes.
So one of the things I say is about people, but it's there's good souls and assholes, and they know who the good souls are. So
Right.
It's, thank God, like I said, I've never been attacked. I've been close to them. Are they intimidating? Yeah. You can't get around that. I mean, am I going to go up and scratch one under the chin and give it a milk bone?
No.
But we have a respect. That's like, even to this day, is where, in that park where that ranger station is at, there is a place down in there I do not go. I don't, and it's not a bad feeling. It's not anything like that. There's a respect. I think we went back in there. There's still snow on the ground, but I think it's probably like 2 months ago or so. And I had the wife watching me from the car, and I walked that whole area along the perimeter of it, at least on the one side that I could get to. And it was, I don't know how to put this. I'll just say it. It was very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a peace in the air that I have never felt there. I don't know what it was or what it was caused by or anything like that, or were the dogmen there? I don't know. Was that darker entity there that's in that house? Probably still is, because we'll get into that. But yeah, it was very peaceful. It was quiet. There was an energy coming from the sun through the trees that it felt spiritual. I don't know how else to describe it. It was very nice, very nice.
No,
Well,
I get that.
have you felt that feeling after that? I mean,
no. Huh. In fact, the wife and I, we like to drive around. I'll be 50 here in July. Yeah, I still do Pokemon, whatever. But we drive around or whatever at night and talk or whatever, play Pokemon or grab something to chew on. But we went back there. Love's upstairs. But I think it was probably a month and a half ago. We were driving in that area, and we just drove by that entrance in the park, and it was dark. Man, her head went down at the same time and kind of looked away from her. Now that driveway was on the passenger side. She looked away from it. I put my head down. I pulled up my 45, flipped the safety off, and put it on my thigh. Mm-hmm. There was something there, and it was weird. It was unsettling, but it wasn't that fear and dread that that people talk about. It almost made me feel like I was ashamed of something. It was almost like that. What did you come down here for? How dare? It was like one of those. I was just kind of like, oh, I feel bad. It was really, really strange. Now I got a vision in my head, which was really, even though I wasn't looking outside that window, I couldn't have seen anything in the dark anyway, but what I saw, a vision in my head, was that there is this dark orb in the middle of this driveway with tentacles coming out of it. That's what I saw, what was put in my vision. I don't know. It was both of us. Love can attest to this. We just had to get out of there. It was so draining. The spirit and the will just kind of sucked out of your body. But I don't know if whatever was in that sacrifice house is getting a little more real estate to move around in or something. If anybody has questions regard to that, watched a show I did with Rob. I think it's about 3 months ago, and it explains the sacrifice house in detail. So with that being said, you want me to keep going as far as other encounters?
Well,
as far as the Dogman?
I mean,
of course. We're all about everything. If it's weird, we want to hear it. Well, almost everything.
Go ahead, Tex.
So you and your wife, y'all run around a lot together, and you've had these experiences. Has she ever seen a Dogman?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, she saw something here at the house, and where we're at, we got a 1 acre lot. We're basically in the middle of a neighborhood. We got a 1 acre lot. We're the biggest one. It's
Right.
swamp in the back half, but we have about 40 feet or so of wood line between our driveway and the road, the main road. And it's kind of a busy road. And one morning, I think it was, that she was going out to her car. She's going to work. She's a 9 to 5 girl. And there was a black wolf that she saw. It was a wolf. It wasn't a dog, man. It wasn't running around on 2 feet. It was on all fours. And I could be wrong, but I think she said that its head was as tall as her. She's 5'7", and she said it walked for a few steps and just disappeared. Now, yeah, so that was definitely a spiritual thing. Oh, damn COVID. Where is they going with this? I'm sorry, folks. Sorry. Brain fog. I hate it.
You were talking about that it just disappeared on her. That she
it disappeared on her. And then we were talking about before the show here, we were doing this little Poke run or whatever, and that sounded bad. Pokemon run. And we did the Michigan U-turn. You know, you do drive around in the median, and this was at night, and it's still in that same area. And we went to do a little U-turn, and lights went across into the woods. And she's like, "Do you see that? What is it?" You know, of course, you know, words weren't as pleasant as that, but it looked like a dog's head and part of its shoulders, again, from about here up, but his head was massive. I mean, to me, it looked like it was about the size of a grizzly bear, but it was canine. And we looked at that and like, yep, okay, we're leaving. That was story dropped at that point. And then the last time she saw something, and I say it was the Dogman in his full glory, it was July 3rd last year, 9:45 p.m. And it was the day before that we were going to go camping in that Highland wreck. And this road goes through the woods, goes down for, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile, sharp right-hand turn all through the woods. And as soon as we turned, probably about 200 feet in front of us,
Jamie.
A Dogman walked in front of us. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, look at that thing. And it was tall. And the thing I've noticed around here, that, you know, how you see the creepy pictures and the Dogmans are all like mangy and the hairs are all messed up and everything like that. They're not like that out here. I don't know if they're having themselves a Kelgon moment and cleaning themselves up or whatever in the woods, but yeah. But, it was about a couple 100 feet in front of us. Lights hit it, clearly lit up. And the weird thing that was, I mean, you could see arms on it. It didn't have front legs like a dog. I don't recall if it had, I think it had a tail. I don't remember. I never pay attention to the tails for some reason.
Yeah, I can't remember if the one I saw had a tail or not. I never draw it with a tail, so I assume it didn't.
Dude, right. You know, and that's the thing. I've heard that story before, and I've gotten zapped by someone before. It's like, you saw this Dogman so close. How big was, was it a male? Was it a female? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you didn't see genitalia? And I'm like, okay, I'm not checking out that end. I'm checking out the business end. I want to check out the business end, not be jealous of something else on the other side. So, I mean, I don't care about that stuff. I really don't. But anyway, this passed in front of us, a couple 100 feet max. And the way it moved, man, it was like it almost glided. Its gait was very smooth.
Yep.
And we drove past it, went through some S turns, and when we got through the S turns, which was maybe a quarter mile away from where this thing was at, there were deer playing in the road. There was a mom and a fawn. So I'm thinking whatever that critter was on their trail. it was heading in their direction. So that's as far as the wife has. Yeah, you didn't need to hear that one. So that as far as she's concerned, I think that's the only ones that she had seen. And now getting back to 04.
Right.
04, from July on until December, it was pretty quiet. Now, this is where I believe that there's no believing. This is what happened. This is where this paranormal and the Dogman started almost interacting with each other to communicate with us or whatever. Girlfriend at the time, she had a friend that had passed. She was a younger girl, teenager, and she wanted to go visit her grave at night. And this was, I'm going to say, around Christmas time of 04.
Because that's what everybody.
What's that?
I said, because that's what everybody does, is go visit their friend's grave at night, right?
They're Irish. They're weird. So, but we went there, paying respects or whatever like that. And it was one of those things. There's not much noise at night in the wintertime up here, but it got quiet. Even the wind stopped. And there's a pressure that built around us. And a female's voice that sounded like a teenager said, I think she said, "Quick, they're coming." And me and my girl looked at each other like, yeah, we just heard that. There was no joke about it. It was like she was standing in between us. And we're like, oh, hell no. So we jumped in my car, put it in gear. Car didn't go anywhere. And transmission did some weird stuff, which later ended up actually blowing the transmission. But I finally got it in gear and we took off, and we got back to her house there in Highland. This is, again, real close to where all this stuff had happened. It's just a couple blocks away from it. And I'm sorry, when we heard they're coming from that girl, that distant voice, we started hearing howling to our south.
Right.
And it was almost like a frenzy thing, but it had a little more of a bass to it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just coyotes or something. So we took off. You don't want to hear that in the middle of the night anyway. So we got back to her house. Right. It took less than 10 minutes to get back to her house, and we're standing out on the porch. And we could hear them coming northbound. Now, running through there, they have train tracks, so it's easy for them to go from Milford to Highland. They just right up to train tracks, whatever. But we heard the coyotes coming, and they were getting more and more frenzied. And I'm guessing they've been tracking maybe a deer or something. I don't know. And out of that park where that ranger station is at, you started hearing stuff piping up. And that was more what appeared to sound like more coyote. And they got into a frenzy, and they got a hold of something. I mean, it was crazy sounding, and it went on for a couple minutes. And then out of nowhere, there was this howl. Now, I can't make this howl up or whatever. I don't have the voice for it, but the only way that I can describe it, and you've probably heard it before, is a very guttural death metal growl.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just this, whoo, it was just really, and even being less than a quarter mile away from us, but it still rattled you. And it went on for a few seconds. It was nothing no human could do. And then, but you heard the coyotes, and the coyotes piped up. And then a few seconds later, there was a second growl. It was louder, more forceful, but it still had that low guttural sound, but mixed in with it was more of a like a human type element to it.
Right.
But it's still way, way too loud and too long for somebody to be doing it. And to have two different frequencies from one voice coming at the same time, I don't know. But immediately after that second growl, all those coyotes must have knew what time it was and they shut up. So I don't know if they were around whatever was back there. Was it a dogman? Don't know. Can't tell you. Didn't bother to go look. Didn't want to know. Didn't go back the next day to see if there's a kill zone or anything. I didn't mess with it. And then I think it was, oh boy, was that just after New Year's? A girlfriend's friend called her up one night, and I'm sitting across from her in the living room, maybe 12, 15 feet away from her. And I heard her friend screaming on the phone. And back, no, for our phones weren't great, but I could hear her on the phone screaming and crying. And I got closer to it, and you could hear her going, go away, get away from me. All this type of stuff. She's screaming and stuff, and it won't leave. And you could hear her, and you actually could hear her beeping, but her car died on this road. You could hear the battery just having its life sucked from it. What ended up happening was that she was in these turns by where all this stuff goes on, and there was a black critter laying in the road. Now, this was after a fresh snow. There wasn't plows through it or anything like that. Just a very few tire tracks. But what she was saying is this thing, she come around the corner, it's just laying in the road. It just looked at her, didn't get up, didn't make any effort. Well, again, her car was dying, so let's go save the day. And we got down there. Of course, there was nothing there, and I didn't think about this until a couple weeks ago. That why did I park where this thing was laying? So did I see where it was laying? No, because I parked right where it was at. She had like a little Mazda Miata or whatever, and I had a larger full size van, and I pulled up just, hey, let's get this jump started and get out of here. So I went to the back of the van, opened up the door, grabbed the jumper cables. I looked, searched the area, and it's an embankment on one side, and it goes out probably about 100 yards or so. Then it goes into real thick pine forest. And on the other side of the road, it goes down a pretty good embankment into a swamp, which, yes, people have died in there. And unfortunately, some of my schoolmates, a handful of them passed. They drowned inside their car.
Oh, man.
But anyway,
sorry to hear that.
It sucks. You couldn't get out. But got her jump started, everything. I went down to this little side street, which is probably 50 yards away, and went to do a turnaround. But I got her jumped. Everything's good. Car's running fine. I went to put the jumper cables in the back of the van. I had a caravan, and there were a set of footprints coming off the embankment down behind the vehicle and heading down into that swamp. Now, they were significantly large paw prints. I didn't see anything like, how people say the dogman will have almost like a human type foot with the paw pads or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that, but it was just very large paw prints. I mean, they were easily the size of my hand. Easily the size of my hand. So what that tells me, I didn't see them because, again, when I'm getting out of the vehicle, knowing that something is close like that, I'm paying attention. And I did not see anything like that when I initially got those jumper cables. Now, so what that tells me is when we were jumping that car, that thing come out of them woods and crossed down that swamp. I don't know if it was in a spot to where it couldn't get away from us, or one of the girls was looking in that direction of the forest, so it only had one exit. I don't know. And as far as the dogmen, that in 04, early 05, like I said, it's right in that New Year's time. Nothing really went on until 2019, and I think it was like June. It was probably June. Yeah, it wasn't crazy hot yet, but I was back at that ranger station, and I saw a blonde. I saw part of a blonde, something blonde, I don't know what it was because where this ranger station is at, it's got a mowed area, a little pavilion, and then it banks off pretty heavily on the back sides of this. And all I saw was from about the elbows up. And I hate saying this. I would say it sounds crazy, but what the hell are we talking about? But I would see from about here up, and it was doing this weird thing, just back and forth. I compare it to like when Kevin was home alone, you know, when he realized he was by himself running around like an idiot. This thing was running back and forth, and I was walking by it, but I couldn't see ahead or anything. And all of a sudden it disappeared. And then voice in my head or instinct says, it's a distraction. And instantly I turned my head to the left, and about 70, 80 feet down, there was kind of a clearing and like a fairly large tree stump. And man, I caught a black one. And what I caught was probably mid chest up. And what I think that blonde one was doing was running interference for that black one to get out of there, if that makes sense. With the way that the arms were on that blonde one, back to Rob's show where I said it kind of looked like the Ozzy Osbourne bark at the moon. It reminded me of that one. It had the longer hair. Black one, it was big, but it was more streamlined. And when I turned and looked at it, it kind of went like that down by this tree stump. Well, it was too big for, to hide completely behind the tree stump, so I could see probably neck up of its head. And just me being me, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I react the way I do, but I'm like, hey, all right. And I just waved. Like, I see you, you're good, like that. And this thing, it did the thing where its ears would turn like a dog, and it just kind of tilted its head a little bit, just like a dog would. I'm like, you're good, you're all right. I'm leaving now. And I just got in my car and left. And then that was it until the one here last year. Now, as far as paranormal stuff, yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy paranormal stuff. Any questions before I get into that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So,
hey, well,
yes.
No. I got a couple.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, you don't know why you react the way you do, Well, one, how long you dealing with this stuff, but two, there's obviously some kind of comfort level there. You've been experience level, because I'm kind of the same way, when I'm out and I know there's critters around, I'm not all, worried about stuff, because they ain't, they've had plenty of chances at me, and they ain't, I've
exactly.
But I want to jump back to you making a sandwich for one that was on the porch. Okay.
Oh, the raccoon?
Now. Oh, yeah.
You talking about the raccoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got pictures. I got pictures.
I would imagine you probably got visitors for life now.
That's fine. I'm one of those guys that like animals more than people. I'm really like that. Yeah,
that's
I don't.
Look at me and my squirrels.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you real quick, just off subject. I saw you had little fairy houses and everything in your garden thing. Do you got fairy doors or anything? I make those. I make them from all wood and everything like that. I was thinking about if I get back into it, I might have to bring you a fairy door or something like that you can hook to your tree. I make some cool stuff with that. I mean, it's off subject, but I'll see if I can build you one or whatever. So,
that is so cool.
Oh man, I wish I was still on.
I bought me a little cowboy gnome the other day. So.
Oh, geez. Nice.
I threw it in the basket. We was at Home Depot or something, and I saw it. I said, "Oh, this is cool." It was like $13, and
nice.
He stands about this tall, threw it in the basket. I do stuff while my wife's not looking.
I don't know how that got in a shopping cart.
And she's like, where did that? I don't know. He climbed in there.
Just hopped right in, honey. I don't know.
Yep. So, maybe getting back onto that little bit of the paranormal stuff.
So is this real quick before you get into it?
Yes, sir.
The paranormal stuff. Now, is this happening? Does it coincide with all this other stuff, or is this something? Though you think it's something totally separate?
Now, like I said, with the graveyard thing or whatever, when the girl said run or quick, leave or whatever she said that they're coming, I think she was warning, but I don't know what she was warning about, because coyotes, whatever, dogmen, they're not in downtown Milford, so I don't know what she was alluding to. But either way, it was when someone on the other side is kind enough to tell you to get out of Dodge. As long as it's not being one of those get out type things, I'm gonna heed the warning. It was.
I've heard that at Tiber 10.
Yeah. Now her folks' house where she lived there in Highland. Yeah, that place was hot as far as spiritual. That was one of those things. Is she had a couple daughters, and they had the little the wind up music box record players, or not wind up, but the battery operated Fisher Price record players. It would start playing in the middle of the night, but there's no batteries in it. Now I think Krista will get a kick out of this story. I've said I've been possessed twice. Now, how do I know that? I don't. Now, what I mean by that is I just went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of a weird situation, and people looking at me like, what the hell? So the first one, I think this was it's all going to be in the same house. House is haunted. House was hot. Demonic outside. Inside, as far as whether or not it was nice. But me and my girlfriend, we went to sleep or whatever. And I don't know how long we were asleep or whatever, but what had happened, and this are folks that's in chat, you remember how I would talk about the blue eyes? Keep that in mind. It was on Rob's show. But anyway, went to sleep. And what had happened, I didn't realize this, I had gotten up, and her footboard, she had it was large orbs, like balls on the footboard or whatever. I mean, they're fairly large orbs or whatever. But how I got woken up was crazy. There's no light in this room. There's no night lights. There's nothing crazy except maybe the charging light on the phones or whatever. Nothing from outside. She had them dark shade windows and blankets over the windows, so you couldn't see anything. It was like a cave. But I woke up about a split second before I got a boot to the chest. Honest to God, that's how I woke up. And what it was is my ass was perched on one of those balls with my feet and my hands, blue eyes glowing, speaking some weird language to her. I was perched on it like a freaking gargoyle. Scared the hell out of her, because all she saw was blue eye. Now, honest to God, it's right hand. Well, you know what I mean. But I woke up a split second before I caught a boot in the chest, and she sent me flying off the bed. And she's all cussing me out and everything like that. And what is this? What is that? What were you saying? I don't know. I was asleep. But it was those bright, the sky blue topaz or sky blue sapphire eye color glow. She explained it to a T. Now, the second time that something like that happened, a lot of weird energy with that family. Let's just put that out there. They weren't necessarily functional. Yeah. So I was down in the basement with her oldest brother. She had two younger brothers. Oldest one, he's what, eight years younger than me. I was going upstairs. It was, you go up from the basement to a landing, you turn and you go up a couple steps and you're just into the main part of the house. And something, I don't know what this is, Brandy, I'd get some comment on it this from you, but I looked outside this, I got to that landing and they had a full glass window, doorway, and there was something in the back part of their yard. It's probably about 60 feet or so deep, and I could see the silhouette of somebody what appeared to be in almost like a robe, not a cloak, but a robe. And this son of a bitch came at me fast, and it didn't run. It just like levitated towards me, and it got onto the sidewalk part of the door. Its face, it was like its skin was just pulled over its face. I hate using the chatter box from Hellraiser movies, but it was kind of like that, but it was more streamlined, and I just went to sleep again. And I don't know what happened or how I got there, but her brother, I guess, was behind me or something. He saw it. I went to sleep. He ran downstairs. I don't know where he went, because like I said, I must have been sleeping at the time. And I woke up standing at the base of the stairs in the basement, and that dude was in the corner looking like I just deleted somebody. All scared, pale, sweating, eyes all big. He's like, your effing eyes are glowing blue, man. And he just went crazy. I don't know, dude. And I said, what happened? He said, that thing came up and you just said, back off, they're mine. I don't recall it. I really don't. I don't know what else to say. And as far as the possession stuff, yeah, that's happened twice. Another instant, this isn't quite paranormal, but this was odd. Wife part 2. Yeah, I had a second wife. My bad. We were out in Indian Springs Metro Park, and we were out in the wintertime, and I think this was maybe 2013 or so. And hardly nobody goes out there and walks the nature trails, in the wintertime or whatever. It's stupid cold. And we're walking this one place along this trail, and I saw this large bird, large eagle size, I would gather, but it landed in some thick tall grass, which whatever, that doesn't sound like anything crazy, but it stirred up something.
Right.
And what I thought it was a bear for a moment, which rare occasion you'll get a bear around that area in White Lake. But this thing took off running through the tall grass, excuse me, and went off in toward the swamp area where, lo and behold, we were going to have to be walking down this trail. And we walked down this side trail that wasn't the main trail, and got a weird feeling. It was one of those things, if stuff got quiet again. And we got, and about 25, 30 feet off of the trail, there's what appeared to be some type of structure. I don't know why I call it a hive, but it could have been man-made, I don't know, but it kind of looked like a teepee made out of different types, different size logs or branches or whatever. The weird thing is that the only set of tracks going down this trail, were ours. That was it. And then I think there was a small raccoon and then a set of deer prints or whatever. but leading off towards
Right.
this little structure thing, there was a larger set of footsteps that were I'd say about 8 to 10 feet off of the main trail, and there's only like 3 or 4 steps. It wasn't a lot that went back into this structure of some sort. And this is one of the only times too is where I've had that firearm out, and there was something in there, and what it sounded like was if you take 2 large branches, slam them together, and then drag them along each other. So you could actually hear the jagged parts of the bark snagging on each other, and it just kept doing it. And it was loud. It was like a crack, and then you'd hear them drag. We got out of there. I don't know what that was. So,
Do
yeah.
you think it's possible? I mean, I don't see why it's not. I know they're in the area, but do you think you think it's possible with some of this stuff, especially with the structures and that type of thing going on? You think you may be dealing with some Bigfoot in the area too?
You know what? I don't know what's in there. You know, I always say it's the Dogman or whatever because that's what I'm familiar with.
Right.
Now
well,
in Kensington,
you know,
right
so.
now in Kensington Metro Park, you're looking at that's like the Milford, it's like Southern Milford. I think that's like 5,400 and some change in acreage. But
Right.
across and underneath an expressway, I forgot all about this, Island Lake State Rec, and that's another 4,000 acres. So you're pretty decent size, I mean, for that area. But we saw
Right.
something back in there in a fall time of 2013 that I don't know what this was. What just happened? Hold on a second.
I don't know. Something kind of strange happened there.
Well, my
Don't you know?
Wi-Fi went out a while ago.
Yeah,
That's why.
sorry about that, folks. It got real quiet down here, and it was just we got one of them air purifiers, and it decided to shut off. I must have had it on a timer or something. So nothing big. It just startled me because it got real quiet in here. But anyway, we were walking down one of these trails in the fall time. It was back along this backside of the lake here in the Kensington Metro Park, and this is probably 50 yards away or so. It looked like a small person running in a cheap Walmart ghillie suit. It's the only way that I can explain it, but it was like a dark red color, like an Irish setter color.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is that? And wife part 2 and I both saw it. We're like, what is that? And I said, just sit tight for a second. I'm going to go see what this is. And I actually walked towards it, and I got probably within 2 strides of this thing, or 2 steps. And what I saw was it was human shape. It didn't have dog legs or anything like that. And it was probably 5 foot tall. It seemed to be like a child type thing. Now its back was pressed up against a large, I don't know if it was either an oak tree or a maple tree, but it was a large hardwood tree of some sort. And its back was pressed up against it. Its arms were kind of wrapping behind it, and its head was turned away from me. But I could definitely hear the heavy breathing, like it was panicked. And I could see its hands. Now its hands looked like ours. So Tex, that's, it's a good question, bringing up the Sasquatch type thing. Its hands were definitely like ours, not like a raccoon or anything, but it had like thicker nails on it. It seemed like its nails were actually the complete tip of its finger. And it was heavy breathing. It was panicking and everything like that. And it was one of those situations where, I'm a few feet away from this thing. Am I going to attack it or shoot it or anything? No, I'm not going to do that. Actually, I kind of got a sense of, I felt bad to make this thing be so upset and startled. Did I think of its mom and dad being around? Never one time. and I just kind of felt bad. So I talked to it in a kind of a calm manner, and I backed away from it and left.
Mm.
And that, folks, thank God for
Right.
now. This is the extent of the stuff that I've gone through since, man, 91, 92.
Well,
So it's been a while.
yeah, I want to go back though. I want to go back
Sure.
to when you said, I don't think we're really talking possession here, but that's what you were calling it, possession.
Right.
And we were talking about the Indian tribes and everything in the very beginning. So Potawatomi, of course,
Yep.
that's the big
Yep.
one.
Yep.
But go back and you might want to do some research, because it sounds like you may have had maybe a guardian or something come in at some point.
You
For
talking like a
protection.
relative of some sort, or
It could have been. It
just
could have been.
something?
I mean, because
Okay.
you're talking about Potawatomi, you're talking about Ottawa, you're talking about the
Ojibwa,
even,
yeah, the Council of Three
Chippewa.
Fires and everything. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you may want to go back and research that and see if you can find any folklore or any stories that have to deal with that type of things with the blue eyes, or maybe temporary body possession or something like that. Because I think that may have been, according to some of the stories that I've read, a guardian that has come in for some reason or another.
I could buy that, because it's like whenever I just went to sleep, I was never mean or aggressive. I didn't climb no walls or do some exorcist nonsense or anything like that. I don't know what it was. It's when I say the possessed, is I say that
Because you were in
Tex,
control. Yeah, you were in
right,
control.
Tex, you could kind of, yep, exactly. I wasn't in control. Tex, you can attest to this, is when you try to say werewolf to somebody as opposed to
Right.
Dogman, you get kind of different reactions.
Yeah.
So that's just how I put it, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I could give everybody here and everybody on chat an answer.
Yeah. That's what I said.
don't know.
Dealing with, that many tribes in that area, I would say definitely do your research. See if you can't find some stories on that, because I'm thinking that something came through, a guardian or something like that came through and said, hey, not this guy, not these people. They don't belong to you.
And I could, dog's okay? I heard him barking. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I try to look to see if there's anything about, as far as any documented burial grounds or anything like that, or former settlement sites or anything in Highland. Now, I didn't see anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
that doesn't tell you anything, really.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is, how well us cream demons treated the red people.
Exactly.
So, right. And then you like that. But, wife part two, her family come from Davisburg, which was the north end of White Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that native part of that family were in northern White Lake. So they were on the border, and her mom used to tell me stories before she passed of how once in a while they would scraggle up one of those red men and hang them in the middle of town. My family, and I've been told this by family members or whatever. I can't read that at all. May have been a guardian possession. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. So I'm sorry. Yeah. So my family, being Native American and just up the street, they were, removing some people from the Census Bureau.
Yeah.
It could be very possible. And then my family, they have kind of a dark past a little bit on that side as well, which I got a kick out of Rob's story about his bar being haunted.
Right.
My family members on that side, is my great grandfather and some of his brothers, actually used to do how we put this, business for the Purple Gang and John Dillinger.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they were the bad end of it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Right.
So a bit of energy
Yeah. But
attached to that.
I'm thinking we're talking about what I'm talking about is your ancestry that is digging deeper than
Okay.
that. I'm talking about your spiritual ancestry. So yeah, just check into it. Just check into it. I mean, it could be a definite possibility because I don't think it is an evil possession. I think it was a temporary. Hey, I'm going to use you because I'm going to say something, and I'm going to make sure that you are unharmed. You know what I mean?
Right.
That your friends, your
Understood.
family are unharmed. So yeah, take a look into that because I've heard stories of that happening. I just can't put my finger on it because I read a lot of history.
Mhm.
But check it out. Check it
I
out.
could do that.
Man, I got to tell you,
it's gotta-
Keith,
I got to do some digging. So
Yeah.
yes, sir.
man, this been a hell of a show, Keith. I mean, you've been dealing with some stuff up there, and I mean, it's.
Well,
I wonder why Michigan is such a hot spot for these critters. You know,
I don't know.
You
I'm
know-
just glad they're not. I'm just glad they're not crabby like the ones down south.
That's where I first heard of them. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Michigan Dogman.
Well-
You're not except it was the Michigan werewolves. It was all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And then
See,
it
and
went
I
into
never heard-
Dogman. Mm-hmm.
I never heard any of this until 23. I've
Really?
never. Yeah, I'm like, what is this nonsense? And then I watched a couple podcasts, and then I did one, and I think it was like Christmas of 23, 24. I did a couple shows with somebody, and then I fell into you guys. So I really never got into it because, again, you look at a cryptid, take a pick your flavor, whatever you
Right.
want. When you talk about that to, we'll just say normal people, I guess, but
There you go.
they're gonna doubt you and laugh
Yeah.
at you and everything.
Yeah.
And like I said, doubters for doubt until they see one, and then it's usually crying and let's get out of here and I don't want to see no
it's like-
more. And
It's like,
Mhm.
who was it? I said, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the mouth.
yep.
Well, I got to
So,
tell
I'm
you,
just
Keith,
glad-
it's been a fantastic show, and I got a strange feeling you're going to be back.
Oh yeah, we got
That's
more
fine.
to talk about.
But wait, there's more. Yeah, right. So
right.
yeah, I'm glad. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I said it on Rob's show. I'll say it again to you guys because I've never had a chance to talk to y'all. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for not being judgmental. Thank you for not charging $50, $60 a month just to have a conversation. Thank you for just accepting everybody as they are. That means so much, and I'm sure the chat crew loves it. We see the messages, and it truly means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad I'm glad I could get it out there. Text, you had a chat or a heart-to-heart chat a few months back in the wintertime, I think it was a late night, and it really made me sit back basically in the same chair that I'm sitting in right now and go, wow, that was deep. It was really a heartfelt thing that you were talking about. And man, that stuff, granted my memory and stuff's going crazy with this communist virus stuff or whatever, but at least I can remember some of the good things.
Well, I'm embarrassed now. You don't embarrass me.
He's a deep thinker. He is.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go
Freaky
with that.
Geek, hold on just a second here. Freaky Geek, you're not mental. You're psychologically liberated from the confines of normal society. Thank you.
I dig it.
I'm just watching chat. So
Yeah, and believe me, this channel is definitely not normal society. So welcome. We embrace you.
There's a reason we proudly wave our misfit flag.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. I still once in a while call you guys the Goonie crew. So yep.
It could be
I
I
that.
love the
that.
Goonies.
Yeah, because Tex could be definitely out there
great
yelling, "Hey, you guys!" I mean,
No, yeah, no doubt about
That's right.
that. Hey, you guys.
right?
But But Keith, I
So I'm
want
glad
to
to.
thank you really for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Bob, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening. Love chat. Cheers from Michigan. You know the trademark. So
Awesome.
we'll see y'all again soon at some point. And Tex, are you going to be with? Are you still running with Selena here and there? So I got a show with her in June.
Yeah.
Or is she going to be on her own fully?
Well, I don't know. I mean, probably not. I'll be around there for a while, for a long while.
Okay.
I would imagine she likes co-hosting with me, so
Yeah.
and
Yep.
she's nice enough to let me do that. So,
And then if any of you guys
and folks, you'll see, you know, not just me, but you'll see other misfits over there too. So
Yeah, that's right.
I can't, you know, unfortunately, I can't be there every week, you know, but yeah, I got to tell you, man, especially after talking to you backstage and everything, I'm really looking forward to September. Looking forward to.
Yeah, so am I, and the wife is too. And you know, the wife,
You
she's
better
doing
warn her.
her.
I'm a hugger. You better warn her.
Yeah, that's fine. And I like licking foreheads, so yeah, we're good.
Oh.
Just kidding. But anyway, yeah, the wife, Lauren, she's really looking forward to meeting everybody here. She loves you guys. She says that you guys are I'm part of your family or anything like that. And I love it because that's what you guys mean. You know, sometimes you don't have to be bloodline to be family.
That's right.
And you guys are proof of that. So again, much appreciated. The wife loves you. You know, she's doing her little bit of her medical stuff or whatever. I know there's a handful of people in chat that were saying thoughts and prayers, and thank you. Thank you so much. You know, Mickey G, Krista, you know.
You definitely got thoughts and prayers headed y'all's way.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, that does mean a lot.
Right. Well, that being said, we do wish you all the best. We wish your wife a speedy recovery. And tomorrow night, don't forget to catch us on the same channel, but at 7 p.m. Central. So stop on by then. We'll be back on. We've got to get off of here because we have Monica Rawlins in our paranormal world that'll be coming on in just about 20-something minutes. So we're going to get off of here so she can get on.
Tex, I'm empty, buddy. Let's get out of here.
All right, man. So, y'all have a good one, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Stay safe out.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.